Hey everybody, John here from the esports department, going over tonight's two-game LPL slate. Yesterday's games, the surprise upset for Suning, getting the 2-0. That's why you play the underdogs in the GPPs. I did prefer OMG as an underdog play last night for a combination of ownership and upside, but as it turns out, at least in the 333, Suning was absurdly low owned. They were like 3% in the 333. So if I had known that it was going to be anywhere near that, I would have been telling everyone to get bullish on Suning. But unfortunately, I assume that people who watched the finals, watched the semifinals last year, would be bullish on Suning, and then you could go bear and have it pay off. But unfortunately, they just win, and they win at extremely low ownership. I did not get anything off of that. I did cash the 333, luckily, from playing 4 EDG instead of playing 4 top, because literally no one was on Suning. But I imagine if you were playing the $15 to be anywhere that mattered, you probably needed Suning. So today, what are we going to do? Who's the new Suning? Who's the new top esports? Let's find out. Once again, I am using the stats from last regular season, so summer 2020. We will update these as time goes on. I've removed kill per win and death per loss for the moment. I'm re-updating those sheets, so restarting them, and I'll start updating them as soon as as soon as the game has been played for the teams. These teams have not played yet, so I'm just going to leave it off for now. The rest of the stats are from last season, and we'll talk about how the roster changes could affect these stats. So for Team WE, they're minus 500. Rogue Warriors is plus 315. Massive advantages everywhere for WE. Gold per minute. Rogue Warriors obviously one of the worst teams in the entire league last season. Do we think that's going to change this season? Not particularly. We get the news that Zhuji is taking a break from professional league for his mental health. It doesn't even look like they're going to run Betty. They're starting with Kellen. Not a super impressive prospect. Not somebody that I think people were looking to come into the LPL this season. So given that, I would expect Rogue Warriors to have the same general strategy that they did last year, which generally leads to a lot of deaths. WE tends to be a pretty high-scoring team because they team fight a lot together. So I don't think that will change this season with just the change in the mid lane between Teacher Ma and Shanks. Teacher Ma was a team fight-based mid laner, but I think Shanks is just going to fulfill that role for this team. Breathe, on the other hand, I think is a pretty big upgrade in the top lane for Team WE, but I don't think it's going to change their overall strategy. Breathe is also a very good player that leans towards being a team fighter more than a split pusher, so should be roughly the same strategy for Team WE this season. WE a deservedly large favorite, and it's tough to say. I think you might argue that this game leans a little bloodier. I'm interested what the projections have to say when we get there, because JDG and IG are bloodier teams than WE, but there's also, I think, a better chance that your team loses a game in that matchup versus the Rogue Warriors WE matchup, where the WE 2-0 is probably fairly safe estimate. We saw WE in the Demacia Cup. They looked very good. Rogue Warriors lineup does not inspire me with confidence. Feels like Rogue Warriors is going to be your large field GPP team. We know that Rogue Warriors, are pretty much any team with Haro on it, is going to be kind of a punch-up team. And so we could see a victory from Rogue Warriors here, but definitely 100% we're looking at WE in cash, and we're looking at Rogue Warriors only in the largest GPPs. The second matchup is the interesting one for the day, JDG and IG. JDG at minus 150, IG at plus 115. Last season, just a slight edge in gold per minute to JDG at 20 gold edge. A decent edge in gold differential per minute, 46 gold edge there. An advantage in first blood for JDG, but first turret for IG, and their dragon percentages were very similar, as well as their gold of 15s not being too far off, about a 200 gold edge for IG. The thing for JDG last season was they were a mid-game second or third Drake team fight focused team that would often get behind a little bit in the early laning phases, but then their team fighting and positioning macro game in general was just so strong that they would make that comeback. That figures to be the same this season, with the only change so far being ZA in the mid lane instead of Yagao. I do think ZA is a downgrade from Yagao, but he should keep the. I don't see the entire focus of the team changing based on that one change. IG for me is a wild card. Obviously, the changes for them, they get Wink at AD carry, they get Zun in the jungle instead of Ning. The big question mark, are the Shy and Rookie kind of refreshed and ready to go this season? Can Zun and Wink get on the same page with the three veterans of this team? Are they going to play the old IG style? Or are they going to play more like when we saw Leon playing with the team and they were much more conservative, scoring-wise? They were much more conservative. Part of the reason they were much more conservative when they were playing with the lay-in jungle style is that their scoring was mostly coming from the Shy and Rookie solo kills, basically, like super plays by those two guys, and not much from the teamwork aspect. Then they brought Ning back in, Baolan back in. Everything was looking like it was old school IG, get together, team fight, and outplay everyone. What are we going to see this season with Zun and Wink? It's hard to say. If I was going to take a guess on it, I would guess we see a more conservative IG this season than we did before. So for me, I think it may not be much of a gamble because they're the more expensive team anyway, but I think maybe you lean on the 4WE or 4 Rogue Warriors in this matchup. It's really, really hard to say exactly what we're going to get from IG as far as playstyle or even skill level wise. Zun, in theory, technically should, as a technical player, should be an upgrade from Ning. Whether or not he'll fit their style, tough to say. Wink should be an upgrade from Puff, and kind of similar thing. Can he fit the style that IG wants to play? I don't think Puff ever really did. So, if Wink is a little bit better at getting on the same page with the squad, IG could be looking at 2 upgrades here, especially if Zun is too. Is IG with 2 upgrades good enough to beat JDG? With maybe a downgrade in the mid lane? Yeah, absolutely. IG is definitely capable of winning this match. I do think people are going to see it that way. And you're going to see IG's ownership be completely reasonable. I think you're definitely looking at WE, JDG, IG, Rogue Warriors as your ownership stacks. I don't think there's almost any chance that it doesn't go in that order today. I can't imagine more people wanting to play Rogue Warriors than IG. So, obviously the safe play, WE and JDG. If you believe in the new IG, I think they're good for small field GPPs or medium field GPPs. In the big $12, you can still, I'm sure, play some 4 IG combinations, but you're definitely going to be splitting first. Even if you downgrade in Captain, I think. Going over to Rogue Warriors and WE, I think Rogue Warriors is really the only team that's going to get you a really low ownership mark. But you could even play this. You could go double dogs on this slate. I could see Rogue Warriors punching up and getting a win, and IG is right there in the mix to beat JDG. So double underdogs makes some sense. And if you're in a field that's like 400 or less people, I think IG makes a really good underdog play that could get you some decent ownership. I don't like playing 2 favorites in a field of like over 100 players for the most part. This is not a slate that I would like force into cash, though. I think you have good options at every GPP level. Obviously, cash is great, but I think you have good options at just about every GPP level as well. Going to cash games, though, or just, lineups with the favorites. The optimizer goes a Loken Captain 3-3 with Loken, Zoom, Lumao, JD Gaming, and then Jumang, Shanks, Beishang. That's pretty tough to argue with, I gotta say. This is a slate where you could definitely go jungle captains to get a 4-2 and not feel too bad about it. Beishang and Kanavi definitely capable of scoring well in big matches, but Jumang and Loken are also very good scoring players, and if you can get an 80 carry captain by going 3-3, it's tough not to at least kind of lean towards that. The bot lane action in the JDG IG series, I could see that being a little bit... I could actually see both bot lane matchups being a little bit more conservative, so I think while this is a good cash lineup, you may lean towards going a 4-2, either Kanavi captain or Beishang captain. If you go either one of those in a 4-2, you're going to get pretty good upside. You might get some differentiation. It leaves some money on the table. I would definitely avoid the mid lane captains. ZA and Shanks are both not historically great scorers, so I think that you can avoid the mid lane captains, either going with one of these 80 carry mixed captain lineups or just going with the jungle captains. I don't think I would mess around with the mid lane at all. I'm interested as far as scoring goes, generally speaking. Likes JDG in the top lane, JDG in jungle, WE in mid. It actually likes Shanks quite a bit. JDG at AD carry and JDG at support. So the only position where it thinks WE has the advantage is Shanks over ZA, which is not super surprising because ZA's historical scoring is not very good. So I guess it wants for JDG. Makes a lot of sense given that IG are their opponents. If you buy into the IG might be a little bit more conservative this year thing, you could head with the Beishang captain for WE. If not, I think the Kanavi captain for JDGs are very good lineups to have in today. And I think that's the way that I would lean with it. Is there a way, I assume, with only 100 left on the table here, does that mean you could go Zhumang captain if you want as well? Yeah, you can. You just have to lean to the JD Gaming team to save that $400. That $400 is pretty crucial, it looks like. Could you go Loken captain? With 4 JDG? Let's see. Why is all these freaking people here that aren't playing? Can you go Loken captain with 4 JDGs? That fit? You can. So yeah, this just seems like the standard safe lineup. I mean, Zhumang is such a good fantasy scorer. Oh no, that's 5 JDG. My bad, my bad. And I don't think there's anywhere that you can get somebody equal dollar, so you can't play just the Loken captain for JDG. The price on WE team is just making it impossible. Only 200 more to get Breathe, 200 more to get Beishang, but you only have 100 left over. Yep, nothing to be done there. So I imagine people will lean towards the ZA captain, or at least average casual players lean towards the ZA captain because it's going to give them a carry captain. Nothing to say those can't win, but I think I like leaning towards the Kanavis and Beishangs if you can do it. You can also, like I said, you can go with the 3-3 that auto builds here. I think that's getting an 80 carry captain with these two teams is pretty strong, I think. So that's also a reasonable option for you. So I think that's pretty much what we're looking at tonight, guys. It's 2 game slates, so there's not a ton to say, but Breathe and Zoom, if you really wanted to take long shots. How big is the 12 tonight? Let me look real fast. How many players? In a 24-50 player field, you probably don't need to go that deep. You could try Breathe or Zoom captains. They're both very high-scoring top laners that are capable of being the highest-scoring players on the slate. So you could give that a shot if you wanted, but I think probably I just end up refraining on that front. So that'll be all for this one, guys. I will talk to everybody later, and everybody have a good rest of the day. See you later.